This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petrinovich,
And I'm Kelly Gilster of 618 Studios.
and we are on a mission to help filmmakers level up their businesses and their craft so they can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here. Well, hey, Brandon, we are so excited to have you on today. I have known you for so many years now, over 10 years, probably coming up on 15. Brandon's an amazing photographer, and we can't wait for you all to hear from him. So how are you today, Brandon?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to get into all the nitty-gritties of this stuff. So yeah, thank you for having me.
So, Brandon, what year are you on right now?
22, 21, 22.
Wait, I thought it was like 17, 20 to 22, somewhere around there?
Yeah, I technically shot my first wedding when I was in high school, and I have my 20 year coming up, and so I was like in it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like 21 or 22. Yeah, crazy. I wasn't full time, but that's when my experience started, shooting for friends, shooting for other people, high school, college, and then decided to launch my own company in college.
Okay. Wow. That is like such a journey. High school,
Yeah,
college, you went for
yeah.
it. That's awesome.
Yes, more than half my life I've been a photographer. So
So, what is your photography business looking like now? I know that you've made some big changes in the last like 2, 3 years. You are in like a way different sector of the market now. So, I'd love to just hear what things are looking like for you this year in 2023.
yeah, I think just because I've been in it for so long, every year I'm just trying to, slowly adapt and change, and my taste and preferences change, my style changes, and naturally the business kind of evolves in that way. So um, now, especially as a dad to 3 kids, time is like more important and vital now than it ever has been. So we've kind of shifted our work to taking on less clients, but letting hopefully those weddings are higher quality and better paying. And so, when we first started, I started shooting with my wife, and we were traveling all over the place. I would say we were probably gone, 5 months, 6 months out of the year. We weren't even sleeping in our own bed, taking on a ton of weddings, 50 to 55 weddings a year on the early days, and then have slowly refined that down to about 13, 14 wedding weekends is kind of like our sweet spot. So yeah, we're in that range now of less is more, just so that I can be more present at home, and it gives me more flexibility in some of the other business ventures that I think we're going to be talking about, to just kind of have a little bit more balance and creating um, just different income sources. So that way it's not all only on photography. So where I have a lot more flexibility being home, and I can kind of plug and play when those hours of work are going to be.
Amazing. It's cool too, like being in it for so long and how your business, like when you're young, like being able to I remember you guys like went and shot a wedding in Tokyo, was it? You and
Yeah,
Kristen? Like
yeah,
when
yeah.
you're just like young and in that game, like that like fills your soul. And then
Oh,
now,
yes.
3 kids and wanting to be home and present for them. And then your business just changes and adapts. So I think that's also just something to say about welcoming in your business looking different year after year.
And that's the cool thing, is like you can make your business whatever you want it to look like. At that time, I knew, oh, we're kid free. Let's book a destination wedding, and let's stay for a week after or 2 weeks after, then travel from here to the next place. And we didn't have to be anywhere at any point. So yeah, it was so fun. And I mean, we are so grateful for that time. But now that doesn't sound fun at all. Like it just sounds exhausting. And I've missed, anytime I'm away, I just truly miss being home with my kids. And so it feels that's what it feels like I'm missing out by being away sometimes. So for me, when I'm away too much, so that like 13 to 15 is like my sweet spot. It's enough. I'm like, okay, like I'll see you guys after a few days. I come back, everybody's all excited. But if I'm gone too much, then it just makes me sad. And so yeah, having that flexibility to make your business. I mean, that's why we're all entrepreneurs, right? Like we don't want to have to fit a mold. We want to make the mold fit our lives. And so I'm really about focusing on building a business that supports your vision.
Yeah, it's so true. And so we've talked to a lot of photographers and filmmakers, and I think something we kind of hear over and over again is, I'm not at a point in life where I want to X, Y, Z. And we love to say, like, it's okay. Like, it's not always going to look this way, and realizing that that is the norm. Like, none of us live in the same business for 21 years. Oh my gosh, I can't
Yeah,
even
yeah, yeah.
imagine
It's
being in
crazy.
business
It's
that long.
crazy.
But like, things really do shift, and it's okay. And like, understanding that you can only plan for what you know in the moment, and that things will change as time goes on. But narrowing your weddings down to that 13 to 15 probably helps with like feeling burnt out, feeling really invigorated by like every wedding. It's not feeling like, like a chore, like it feels exciting.
Yes, yes.
I don't know. We're all three kind of in the same boat with the same level of or quantity of weddings a year. And it's just a really nice place to be in.
Oh, it's so nice. Yeah, you're right. It's definitely not a chore. You're like so excited for each wedding. I mean, hopefully, but generally speaking, like you're so excited for each wedding that you have because it's not 3 days a week. I was shooting Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the next week Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's like just too much, and then you're burnout editing and all the expectations. So it's just nice. Like I'm excited to get to the computer to work on the wedding, and then I'm excited to go and shoot. I mean, yeah, it just has really changed. My outlook, like your happiness, right? Work occupies the majority of our life, and so if you're kind of waking up feeling overwhelmed and stressed, and I don't know, it's just not a good way to live. So
Yeah. So Taylor, you and Brandon met at Engage, right? This last year?
Yeah, we
yes,
did. Yeah, it
Fun.
was great.
yeah,
I
really
actually, like,
fun.
had no idea who he was when I met you, and then,
Same.
like, time went on, and I was like, "Oh, oh, okay, yeah. Okay, that was Brandon. Cool."
I know it was that, especially that one because that was like a bigger engage, and so it's just like crazy. If any, I'm sure a lot of the listeners have been, and it's just like overwhelm. So you meet a lot of new faces and a lot of new people, and on very little sleep. So it's just a little bit of a blur, but it's fun.
Oh, yeah, you, like, live in a haze, for sure.
Didn't you tell me, Brandon, you're like, over the last Engage, I only slept for like, was it something like 6 hours total?
Yeah, it's like 6 to 8 hours. I generally get like 2 hours a night, and it's like 3 nights. So it's 3 or 4 nights. But yeah, it's crazy. I normally get like two, 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 and then three if I'm seeing another day. It's just nonstop.
Oh my
I must have been
gosh.
doing it wrong because I was definitely getting, like, 5 to 6 hours a night. I probably
No, it's
missed
not
out on
wrong.
so much.
No, 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 no. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's just to you make it to what works for you. And so for me, like I'm usually always the last one to leave, and then I'm always like also up with the early crowd doing the morning yoga or morning whatever, like exercise that people want to join in. So just fun. We're there for like a limited amount of time, and so again, like being the dad, like I'm only away. Like I'm gonna maximize my time when I'm away. So
And it's like an investment to go. Like, and it's all about the
oh
networking.
yeah,
So you
for
just
sure,
like got
for
to make
sure.
sure that you're getting your money's worth with, meeting new people and just making the most of like the beautiful places that you guys get to go to too.
For sure. And you like, and that's why I always tell people that go, because I get to sit on that first time panel. So I help like welcome people for the first time. And it's like, just make it what is right for you. Like if that doesn't sound fun, if it's going to change your experience and therefore how you present yourself and how you interact with people, then don't do that. Like you want to push yourself a little bit to out of your comfort zone, but not if you're going to be grouchy or sleep deprived or like, yeah, if it's going to affect how your
I would
first
be so
impression.
grouchy.
you know like your first impression for me, I'm like super high energy, so it doesn't affect me. But yeah, some people like they just for sure after the like dinner they just go to bed, they get 10 hours of sleep, they wake up the next day, they're refreshed. I mean, they make it what works for them.
Yeah. Okay, so 2023, you're doing around between what, like 10 to 15 weddings, let's say. Are you kind of
Yeah,
capping it at a certain amount, or is that just kind of how like bookings are landing this year?
yeah, it's pretty natural. I mean, I feel like what happens at this level is like because you're shooting like full weekends, like your availability becomes so small. So you may get a lot of inquiries for the same like weekend, but if you're already shooting rehearsal or something and their travel is you're so far apart, it's impossible to do that. So I think there's like a natural um reduction just based on your availability and where you're at because the travel kind of affects that. And your price point kind of like takes rid of the other the other demand, you know. So it's natural. I would take more if it's the right. I mean, also like if you're very selective of like who your client is and what the aesthetic is and which planners you enjoy working with, you know, like all of those things play into your um availability, you know. So if a perfect dream client would come by, it's hard for me to say no when like every it checks all the boxes. You're like, "Ah, I'll squeeze one more." Because at this level, like I mean, I was shooting 50 something. So as far as capacity goes, like it's not hard to take on an extra wedding, you know. For me, that's not I just like, okay, then I'll do less coaching, or okay, then I'll do like I'll put more effort on a different business or something. So I just kind of have it all open. I don't set like, oh, I'm at 10 and I'm done. I'm not taking anymore. I'm not really like that.
Yeah. So are your like proposals, like when a planner comes in your inbox, you're putting together a proposal for them, are you kind of only accepting like full weekends now? Or will you do just wedding day?
Yeah, for if it's destination, for sure, it's full weekend. If it's a local wedding and I can drive in and out, I'm not staying the night anywhere, and I'm just going, then I'll shoot one day only. But it's also depending on the time of year too, when I know that it's like a little bit like in summer, I feel like a lot of my destination work is not really in the dead of summer anymore. I feel like it's more on the outskirts. So if it's like spring or fall, then I really won't, it's hard to do a one day. I just charge more, you know, so it kind of doesn't really make it worth it. I make it a little bit less than what a full destination wedding weekend would be, but um honestly, it is expensive, so I understand. I don't book that a lot, but I will shoot one day, but I just adjust the price accordingly so that it's kind of equivalent, you know.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. And it's kind of nice to hear that people have like this dynamic pricing. Like I think a lot of people get very like cornered, or they cornered themselves into thinking it has to like look one way. And you already said this at the beginning, but like that's the great thing about being an entrepreneur is like you get to create your own rules. And if that's what like works for you and you want to like decentivize people from booking like a single day or make it worth
Yeah,
it, like you have the freedom to do so. And like that's completely acceptable. Like,
yeah, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, and I think of it more as like, I mean, it's how you view pricing, right? It's like, oh, I can, or we can add on rehearsal, or we can add on this for this price. So it's not like that much different to add to make it still a full weekend thing. Because I mean, if let's just say if you're going to spend the types of budgets that we're talking about, you know, several 100K, 500K or plus, whatever, like they're having a nice rehearsal dinner, they're having a nice welcome party. Might as well just add a few extra coverage of you know a few hours each day. It's not going to be a significant hit to the overall budget. So I think it's a pretty easy pitch, especially when your singular day is high. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, like they're already investing in it. And if I actually have a client for next year, or for not next year, next month, and I've been like looking at like all these events that they've been putting on, like they had like a really crazy engagement party, and then like she just had her bridal shower, and I was looking at their collection. I'm like, they didn't add us for like welcome party or rehearsal dinner. Like, I think I'm gonna like be a little
Reach
bird
out.
in the
Yeah,
planner's
yeah,
ear
totally.
and be like, hey, because it's local and it would be easy to get there and stuff, but like, you know, just kind of building out that collection a little bit more, and maybe like the planner didn't really like educate them on that being a possibility, so sometimes it just takes you kind of presenting that option to them. So
Yeah, absolutely right. Because if your one day rate is like already maybe at the max of what they're comfortable spending, they might just assume then it's going to be way over on the other days, you know. So yeah, educating them or the client is advised.
yeah. Okay, so separate from photography now a little bit, you
Okay.
recently have ventured into what first started with your own investments, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I've always been so I'm a by nature, I mean, I was raised very like financial awareness, kind of random. I've never met anybody else that's done it, but my dad put me on that. Have I told you about this, Kelly? Like my
No.
dad put me on a budget. Like he gave me he figured out how much he spent on me and I have one older brother, how much he spent on us boys for a whole year, everything. My dad's very like uh project manager of construction, so like it very in the numbers and being on budget and on pace for the year. And so he calculated everything, divided it by the month, and then that was my monthly budget. So and starting in seventh grade, I got $120 a month, and I had to buy everything: my school clothes, my sports equipment, my fun with friends, like everything. So I've always been like very number focused, and so I think, yeah, I think that, like, that's like kind of a cool way of just like always being in the details, always being in the numbers. So because of that, I I went to school for finance, and have my degree in that. And I didn't like that as a profession, but I mean, as an entrepreneur, I mean, you use that more often than even photography. I use numbers in my business more than I take pictures. So, um, yeah, so I started, just being in the budget, and then working on saving. And then after savings got to a certain place, then working on investing. And then once investments got to a certain place, being a little bit more diversified in those investments. And so we can go into those if we want, or whatever, how you guys want to lead this.
I would love to like dial this back a little bit, like frame this conversation for the listeners here a little bit. So I feel like people typically fall into like one of two categories. And Brandon, I think you and I may be in the same category here. Like we're either like very like business and like money like minded, or you're maybe more of like an artistic like soul,
Oh,
right? Who like the
number
business
one.
side
That,
you need to
yeah.
work at. Right? So like this whole money talk, like we're talking budgets and investments, like all these things may come easy to like our group. So for those of you who are listening who are also like that, enjoy, because this is going to be like a really great conversation. I love talking money. It's my most favorite topic in the whole world. That sounds really horrible, but it's true. But for those of you
No,
who
it's
are
great.
listening who
Yeah.
like may not be like business minded, like you do this for the art and like you need to work on like the financial side, and maybe you're sitting here and you're 35 and you haven't begun thinking about your future and retirement. Like, what does that look like? Oh my goodness, now I'm all overwhelmed. Like, it's okay, breathe. Like, there's still stuff happening and there's so many ways to do it. My family, like, my husband and I's favorite topic to talk about on date nights is like our finances and our financial future. And like we're big into like the traditional retirement funds, like we do like the IRAs and like all of those things, paying down the house as fast as we can. So anyway, I'm excited to hear about, like, I know you have a different perspective or like an alternative perspective. So I kind of want to hear what you have to say, but can we just talk a little bit about why it's important to like plan like financially, and when's the perfect time to start?
Today,
There we go.
literally, it's just today. You don't need to worry about what you could have done or what you need to do. It's just starting today. And it doesn't even need to be a lot. Just getting in the discipline of savings. If you're not good at saving, it's definitely a discipline. Just like working out is, focusing on exercise is a discipline, eating healthy is a discipline, you know, uh, and so some people are more disciplined than others. And discipline isn't fun, right? Like, it's not easy, and nobody, unless unless you start to see the benefits of discipline, is what people get addicted to, and keeps, you're reinforcing those habits, so you want to continue doing so. But until you've experienced that, it just feels like work, and it feels like sacrifice. And so the most important advice is just to get started today, even if it's $10. If you were going to go out to lunch, can you make something at home? Like, if you were going to go buy coffee, could you make that at home? 4 bucks, like, even if it's small, it's just stacking small wins and building the discipline of knowing, like, hey, I'm holding out a little bit of today so that I can have a better tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I remember we had a conversation and you were kind of feeling maybe less invigorated by photography. You'd been doing it for so many years and you were kind of looking for like ways to get excited about your craft again. And I remember you saying that you had recently started investing in real estate, and that really got you like excited and invigorated again. And in turn, like your photography, which was like the funnel of income that was able to get you to those investments that were exciting you again, it kind of like reinvigorated that photography. And now photography is like really exciting for you again after 20 years, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. After you get your first like investment property, you're like, wow, that's so cool. Like, just having money literally like coming in, and you don't have to do very much for that. You're like, I want to repeat that as much as I can, right? So then now photography, yeah, it is the main source. So then you're like, okay, like, now, like, let me book more wedding. That's why I'm like, oh, I don't really cap it, because every actual weddings is a couple, properties that we could buy. So, let's, yeah, it definitely makes me excited. But I think, in addition, knowing that, uh, like, income is coming from properties, it also takes the pressure off of selling a job. So if I don't book a job or something, it doesn't, like, you don't feel the same, and you don't feel as much pressure to produce income specifically from one job. So that makes it more fun too, you know, like you really gives you the freedom to be like, oh, like this is the right client, this is the right planner, this is the right location, like this is this is a great wedding that I want to take. Or if it's not, it doesn't really sound that fun. It sounds like it's going to be a little bit more demanding bride or family or whatever. Like, yeah, this is not the best fit. I don't want to do that anymore. And it's nice. It's just that's the whole point of diversifying. And so it gives you the freedom to be able to make those choices, you know? I think it's just important to know, like, have a little bit more forward thinking. When do you think you want to stop working? Or at least when do you want to feel like you have the ability to stop working? Because we've had this conversation before, Kelly. Like, I love to work. Like I really
Yeah.
enjoy it and I love what I do. Partially because we're designing to only do things that we love doing, and that takes a lot of work. But because of that, like I, I just want to have the freedom to say, like, I don't have to do this. You know, the more you're in charge of all of these things, especially your finances, it gives you empowers you to be able to make those decisions. So
Yeah.
it's
Not only
important to
that, but
start
like
today. Yeah,
our job is so physically demanding. Like you may see some like 60-year-old like wedding planners out there, but you don't see like that many 60-year-old like photographers or like
for sure.
videographers. Like we're getting those steps in and carrying all the heavy things and it is
Yeah,
hard on the body and I feel like there is like kind of a limit to that. Um, so I don't know. I think this is just such a great conversation. And even if people who are listening who have been full time successfully for a long time, like just kind of knowing what the future can hold and like creating a plan is so important.
yeah. I'm always like backup plan. Like you. I mean, it's super. Our job is very physically demanding, but we can exercise. We can work hard. We can be really on top of our diet, nutrition, and everything to like prolong that. But it's like I always just protect this situation where I no longer like this, right? Even if I'm physically able to shoot until my 60s, I might not want to. I might not enjoy that this craft anymore or this industry or the expectations or all of those things. I just like to have contingencies and basically exit strategies of in any one of my areas of what I do, I just like to have an exit strategy for it, just to be able to keep designing the lifestyle that I like.
Yeah. I remember so many years ago, you told me something that like always stuck with me. And it was that our jobs are a lot like a professional athlete, especially in like the upper like tiers of the market where you're like making really good money like on these weddings. You're making like big lump sums, big retainers, all this stuff. And like what are you going to do with it? Like he's like you're like I feel like there's so many of us that like live in this world of like wealth and we're making like a really good income, but then it's really only for such a small time. Just like a
Yeah,
professional athlete's career is so short. And that's a lot like how being a photographer, videographer is. And what are you going to do with that? Are you going to be the athlete that blows it all? Or are you going to be
yeah.
that athlete like Shaq, who is like almost a billionaire? He might be a billionaire now, and he has made way more money than he ever did playing basketball just based on the investments and like getting skin in the game and making wise choices. So just something I
100%.
that's always stuck with me. Yeah.
And just like, yeah, like, because you come into money quickly, well, not necessarily quickly, because you could be working for a long time, but when you come into good money, like it's just like the carrot in front of the horse. Like it's so alluring, like that's all you can see. And so like you spend on things that are in your peripheral, like the closest to you, like, oh, my house needs improvement, or like I want to go on this vacation, or the kids need school, like whatever. Like there's all the things that are in your close peripheral that like feel like they take more importance. So it's just pausing and just looking a little bit further down the road to yeah, so that way you could be a little bit more prepared. And it's a hard balance, and everybody's balance is different. Like how much do you want to save? Everyone's if we're talking specifically, like okay, well, how much of your income do you save? Is it 10%? Is it 5%? Is it 40%? 60%? Everybody has a different number. I think I think what's important to know is what is the lifestyle that you want to live, or when at what point in your life do you want to not have to be dependent on producing income in order to live, right? Like I mean, we're always probably going to need to be having some, either if it's coming from our investments or for our own work, but at what point is that? And then how much money do you, if you were talking about full retirement of no work, how much money do you need in order to live off of that? That's kind of like a whole separate discussion of like financial planning, and there's layers and layers and layers, and disclaimer, I'm not a financial planner. This is not financial advice. I always have to like say that when we start to like talk about these kinds of things. Um, but yeah, like there's layers. And so going back to Taylor, what you're saying, like to the creatives, that like this just sounds like an awful topic. Like it's important, regardless, it's still important regardless, and it's going to be there, and it's something that you need to figure out regardless. Just like taxes suck, and nobody likes paying taxes or going through all the numbers and stuff, but you have to do it. So the way, if you can learn to kind of appreciate it, or learn to tolerate it, will serve you really well.
All right. Well, this is such an amazing conversation, but we are going to hit pause really quick for our luxury insider tip of the day, brought to you by Wedding Post House, which is an amazing post production company for wedding videographers. They handle all of your culling and multicam syncing in, what is it, DaVinci, Final Cut, and in Premiere. So pretty much wherever you edit, they have you covered. And they have really fast turnaround times. In about a week, you will get all of your footage and your project files back. Kelly has used them. She had a great experience with them, and it took a lot off of her plate. I just started my wedding season, so I haven't even like begun to think about my footage, but I will be using them too. But they have a discount code for us and for you as listeners. You can use the code LevelUp10 for 10% off of your culling services with Wedding Post House. So, Brandon, what is your luxury insider tip for the listeners?
Well, I'll keep it on theme, on brand for this conversation, and money. And so I think when it comes to pricing, specifically pricing yourself, you have to really get in the mindset of who your client is, right? And so if you're too cheap, everybody associates value, your value as a product or service, to price. And so if you're too cheap, it's just, they're not going to feel like it's a superior product. And if you're also, on the flip side too, if you're too expensive, then they think maybe you're just going to like kind of gouge them. So I think it's important to kind of know who your client is, know specifically where they're getting their money from, if it's new money, if it's old money, or if they're CEOs. And so you can kind of dial your pricing strategy a little bit to your client.
That is such a good tip. Like, and it's so interesting that you forget about it. Like the new money client, the way that you present pricing to them is so different than how you present to the old money client. It is such a game. And yeah, it's really important to like understand how to do that. And actually, Taylor and I hosted our free virtual workshop a while back, The Road to Luxury. And one of the biggest takeaways that people had told us that was a mind blowing thing for them was when we talked about the fact that in the luxury market, the cheapest option doesn't always win like it does in the budget or mainstream market, and that price, you can be too cheap, and the high wealth client will wonder like, well, what's wrong with their product? Like they're too cheap. So it's best to really be upwards on your pricing because they're just going to find higher value in that.
Yeah, 100%. It's crazy, but yeah, I mean, I can't afford my own services, but that doesn't mean that they can't. So, and it's just, I know, I just always remind people, and I think when people are outside of the wedding industry, we talk about, oh, yeah, they're like, oh, how much is that wedding? Like 100,000, like they're just like, they're like, you're like, no, it's like multi seven figure. They're like, for a wedding, and like, so I think it's just knowing the numbers. And even if you hate numbers, it's important to know, so that way that you can level up yourself up.
Right. Yeah. I think, yeah, that's why it's so important to know also just how much everything costs in the wedding industry. Like I remember like first starting out and hearing like, oh, that band was $30,000. And I was like mind blown. But like that was just like now like that's like the starting of like the weddings that we're in. Like you have bands that are $100,000. Like
For
there's like
sure.
such range, but like having that understanding of like what things cost, even down to like what does that chair cost? Like what's the chair rental on that?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
just educating yourself on all the things so that you can price yourself accordingly. Otherwise, like you're showing up and way undercharging and it's just never fun.
Yeah. And you probably will lose out, because if you don't value your own services to that level, then it's really hard for your clients to.
So, Brandon, you are working with a few clients now doing, some strategy with them on their investments. What does that kind of look like when someone comes to you? Like, who are your ideal clients in this like sector of your business?
Well, I think people kind of fall in two categories. You have people that aren't making as much money as they would like, right? And so we look at, if you fall in that category, then we look at, I mean, I kind of view everything through like games, right? So it's like, if you're going to win a game, you have to have a good offense and good defense if you're really going to make a game. So good offense meaning you're a high income producer, you have no problem making money, but you have bad defense, you spend it, right? Like you have a difficult time keeping it. And the other side of that is like, people can be really really good savers and frugal and like really good at defense, but they're so tight to it that they're not really on the offensive side, not really willing to take risks, not willing to grow, not willing to delegate, outsource, invest in their business in a way that could help them grow and produce income higher. So we look like they would kind of fall into either of those categories. We look at their business to see like, what ways can we save, what ways can we grow. And then the other person is, you are making the money that you want. However, you just don't know what to do with it. You don't know where to go to invest. You don't know how to make your money work for you. And so, because a lot of times you don't really have the time also to do so, And so, yeah, I help with different strategies of, basically designing their life. Like, what do we want your life to look like? And then reverse engineer it, right? Okay, in order to get this, obtain this, we need to make this, save this, invest this, and it's very tangible, it's very practical, but it takes effort. It's just like, going to the gym. Like, if you want to see results, you have to be willing to make some sacrifices and be disciplined, But it's the same thing with health. It's wealth and health are so they relate so well, because bad proper health and exercise equals bad quality of life later in life. You physically can't do things, your health deteriorates, cancer, like you have signs of that. Same thing with the wealth side. It's like, you don't have the luxuries or the freedom that you wish that you would have. You rely very heavily on government support and aid, and there's no way to live either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just creating your own path and your own journey and being more in control all around.
Yeah, so I help with that. So whether you fall in either of those categories, there's definitely I just help to like come alongside. Whether I can give you kind of a blueprint of say, hey, let's do this, let's get you to here, or you've already doing it, like let's reinforce it, let's look at some other strategies. Or like, people are like, oh, I'm making good money, but I have a little bit extra time. I'm climbing this ladder. I'm making a good amount, but I have extra bandwidth. And so like, oh, hey, let's look at some additional, if you want to start another company, just looking at other ways to produce income. So other income streams. And that's something that I've been, trying to focus on more. And that's the good thing with, taking on less work. It allows you to have the time bandwidth to start something new, which is also exciting and fun. And that's what I love starting. I love business. I love like getting things up and going. And that's why I started doing this coaching, because I get to do that for other people. And it's like so much fun. It's so life-giving to me, just seeing other people win and like really coming alongside them and challenging them, encouraging them, and like hitting those numbers. It's so rewarding. So yeah, I love it. It's super fun.
I want to do what you do. That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
I'm also like a starter. I love that.
Yeah,
The dreaming and the
clearly
planning.
you guys are killing it, like clearly it's so fun watching you guys just be like, oh yeah, we're gonna start this and that, and just like boom. I love it. It's so cool. You guys are doing an amazing job, so keep it up. You're like blessing and really encouraging a lot of people to look at having these conversations within themselves and within their business to like really level up. And like, it's really important for people, so I think what you guys are doing is awesome, and keep it up, keep going.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like work, and that's the coolest thing. And I feel like just
Yes.
hearing you talking about this, like you can all of a sudden like hear like your voice, just like so much excitement building, because like you can tell that you are like so passionate about helping people in this way.
Yes, it's like you said, it doesn't feel like work. So it does, like, it is hard to like charge. Like, going back to like the pricing thing. So a lot of the creatives like, this is so fun. Like that's why pricing is so hard for people, because when you love it so much, it is hard it's harder to charge, especially if you are a people pleaser and you love what you're doing. It makes it even harder to charge for that, you know? Um, but you have to take care of yourself, you know, so that you can continue to take care of others. Like ultimately, you know, that's my focus. Like I have to do this so that I can take care of my family, and I want to take care of other business. And we give a lot of pro bono stuff, you know, whether in giving back, whether it's giving back in time or money or whatever. It's like we have the ability to do that. Where if we didn't charge, if we weren't being a little bit more stickler on the charging side, then we wouldn't be able to serve and bless in that capacity also, you know.
So we love our audience and we love to provide like really actionable steps to them when they're listening in. And although this has been so inspirational, I know that you have a few maybe more like tangible things that you'd like to share. So if this whole idea of like saving money and investing is like new to somebody, or you're just kind of reminding them like, oh yeah, I should probably be doing that. Like what are some like maybe benchmarks or goals they should be looking at for their own businesses?
A good benchmark to start is if you're not already saving 10% of your income of what you gross for the year, not 10% like of what you keep, you know, after all you have deductions and expenses, like 10% of what you make. Start there. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. So even if it's not that, start with five. Just start saving, start looking at your numbers, seeing how much you make, and then really just plugging it away, learning a little bit of sacrifice and a little bit of discipline. So start with that, and it's only going to serve you because depending on what that number is, you know, like that may be you may not have an extra 10% to save, right, at this level, but getting in the habit of discipline. Well, here's the deal: everybody has 10% guaranteed. Like wherever you're at, you can 100% save 10%, no matter where you're at, just by making choices that maybe suck, but you can absolutely do it. And so if you're not already doing at least 10, start with that, you know. Cut the small things out, cut the shopping, reduce down, shop different places, eat out less, reduce spending. That's the easiest way to save the 10%. And that will reinforce like positive affirmations, like I'm capable of doing that. Oh, and it really wasn't that bad. And then, you know, look at your business. And then I think from there, you can kind of, you have to do that for a while in order to start saving, seeing a little bit of money in your bank account. But um, kind of the natural progression would be get enough saved so now we can actually let that money work for us, put it in a money market account where then that can have a little bit higher interest rate, or a CD, something where you know you don't need to touch it for a little bit longer, right? But it's earning a little bit higher interest. Okay, now maybe do you have a retirement account? Do you not? So look, talk to a financial planner, talk to your CPA, talk to a friend. You can get those things set up very quickly and very cheaply, but that will help you for tax season too. So just get something started. A saving account. If you don't already have a savings account, start putting money in. If you don't already have an investment account, a retirement account, start one and just start putting a little bit of that savings account into that retirement account. Super basic. Even if it's 25 bucks a month, 50 bucks a month, 100, like little wins will stack, and they'll start to become bigger wins and bigger wins and bigger wins.
Yeah, so good. So actually I have like a fun little like kind of a horror story to share. It's not like my story, but somebody that I know. So for those of you listening, like you do want to like go consult somebody who like knows what's going on, because this person wasn't aware of how these accounts work, and they were just like depositing money into their Roth IRA, and they didn't realize that you like need to then like invest the money
Oh,
from
just
there.
cash. Oh,
Yeah, so it was
bummer.
like years and
Yeah.
years and years of just like cash sitting like uninvested in like a Roth
Oh,
IRA. Anyway, so like there's kind of a lot that goes into it. So seeking somebody out that can help you. My family, like we're like big Dave Ramsey people, and I know that like a lot of people either like hate his like way of doing things or love it, but he does have like resources and like vetted like financial advisors. Like if you go to like ramseysolutions.com, like, and you can find one that lives near you. Like we found one who like is very reasonable in our area, and he's been like such a help with us in like our investment. Or reach out to Brandon because like he also knows what he's doing and stuff, you know. But anyway, just wanted to share that like there's a little bit more that goes into it than just like opening
yes.
an account and like dumping cash in it. Like there are some steps to follow, and just like go into it knowing that.
Yes, correct. I get, yeah, I should say it's not as easy as that,
It's
but
pretty
I
easy
mean
though. It's really
it's
easy.
something that will take you less than a half of a day to like start, open up a savings account, open up a retirement account, get an account funded. Yes, having it invested is key, is key. And having some guidance of what to do to match your risk tolerance, and risk tolerance meaning, you don't want to lose the money that you put in, because certain investments are not guaranteed, certain investments are. So talking to an advisor is important, so that way you know what you're doing, not just, and like Taylor said, going to a trusted advisor, so they're not just going to take a high percentage and make money off of you without doing much work.
So, Brandon, it's very apparent that you have, a heart for creatives, being one yourself, especially photographers, videographers, maybe even planners, because you know how like this income comes in, and then a lot of us don't really know how to like turn that and make that work for us. I know that maybe some of us listening are a little bit, it's a little bit scary to like jump into something new, and just know that it doesn't have to feel that way. It's really great if you can get some solid consulting and strategy. And Brandon loves to work with all types of creatives. So Brandon, if someone is listening and they have loved what you've had to say and they want to learn more, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, we can set up a call. I can get to know you, hear what your strategies, what your goals are, and then just see if consulting might be a good fit for you. If not, happy to just give you some pointers of where you can start, more tangible, actionable steps to get you pointed in the right direction if consulting is not the right fit for right now. But yeah, it's so important. It's so important, and it's something that's not taught from elementary school to college. It's just not something that's common knowledge. And so I just have such a heart specifically for creatives, because most creatives they don't have the business side or the financial awareness side. And so I'm just trying to help bring that into this industry to really serve this community and make it feel less overwhelming, taking all of the emotions and mindset that come with money and kind of turning them upside down for people to feel way more empowered, way more confident, and just way more, just give people direction, so they know, okay, I'm booking this going here, creating your little buckets of money, and that way you can kind of, take control of why we're working for ourselves. That's the goal.
Yeah, well, we love what you're doing. Again, it's not talked about enough, and I know that so many can really benefit from just your guidance and everything that I feel like minds are going to be blown, and futures will be shaped and changed. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, and I think one last like parting note is like, I think that we're a lot more capable than we think. I think that we're like, oh, it's easy to look at others. No, you're able to make very big impact with what you have. And it just requires actionable steps and focus to really get to where you want to be. And so don't feel like it's too late, you've already missed the boat. You're gonna wish that you did it today, and you'll be saying it in a year from now or 2 years from now, like, man, I wish I just started 2 years ago. You would have, I wish I would have started 10. Just start today, and you'll be so thankful. Your future self will thank you.
Thank you for joining us in this conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, please help us reach more filmmakers just like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it on social media. Don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.